Flory Models, kit review time. Today we've got Eduard's reboxing of the Hasegawa A-4 Skyhawk, or the scooter. This is Eduard's limited edition job. They sort of rebox them, they bring in all the good bits, so you get all the nice photo edge, amazing decals in there, usually some from their Brazil set, things like that. So, you know, really nice kits generally. So, as you can see in the box, there we go, lovely scooter on the front. And as I say, these kits are absolutely something else. If you're ever doing one and you want one with amazing sort of decals and that, some nice options, then obviously the Eduard reboxings are the one to go with. So you can see this is the versions we could be looking at. 1/48 scale, so your kit number is, we do it that way on this one, is 1197, okay? And as I said, there isn't massive amounts on here, but it talks about the Brazil set, so obviously we've got the actual one for the seat with the photo etch bit and things like that, but we'll see more about those in a moment. So generally, in the old box, which has never been opened, so I can't get in it. This is the second review on the belt where I can't get in the box. No, it's not glued. The staples catch it. Okay, get in there eventually. There we go, stay. Okay, so move around this way. As you can see in the box, we have one bag, which is, you know, basically, actually it's quite nice in here. It's saying in here it's made in Japan, imported by Eduard and all the rest of it. It doesn't say Hasegawa on here. In fact, it doesn't say Hasegawa anywhere that I'm aware of. But this is the Hasegawa A-4 Skyhawk, and as we know, it is definitely one of the best, if not the best, Skyhawk kit out there. We've got a little bit of resin, which we'll look at in a moment, and we've got the decals, okay, which again, another big sheet and other bits and pieces. So, in the old instructions, which are what is a little bit bigger, okay, beautiful colour job on these, as you can see there. Very, very well laid out, some great detail in here. So usual thing, obviously the Skyhawk family is vast by its nature, so you've got various different versions, so just make sure you get the correct bits and pieces, and then it's going to be a case of working its way through. So as you can imagine, a lot of work going down here in the cockpit, because we've got the photo etch to look at, and obviously the brass bits and some resin, so it's basically calling out what to remove and what to replace all the way through this one as it goes through. We've got the inlet, and then obviously we've got the exhaust, the inlet and the exhaust system to go in, and then it is just as simple as two halves going together with a few bits inside. Okay, so there's not a great deal to go in this one. Remember the weight, this is a tail sitter by its notion, so just make sure you get a little bit of lead in the front of that just to hold the nose down. Okay, so making its way through, then you've got the electronics hump on the top, which is the reason it's different too. What is the other versions? Is the E doesn't have, is it the C's, and the earlier ones don't have it, or you can have it, but obviously you've got the different versions which we'll look at in the moment, have the hump on the top. Okay, wing section goes in the bottom. You've got some nice slats that hang out the front of these ones, and then obviously you've got deployable, if you wanted to, the flaps on the back. Tailplane goes in, that fits in there, the wing section goes underneath. You've got the gear, we've got a couple of decals going in there, which is a nice touch. There's different lumps and bumps all over these for different versions, so just keep an eye on where you're going with it. Some nice detailed gear with these kits, considering their age especially. Okay, and the wheel wells, a little bit of photo etch going into those. And then making its way through, fuel tanks onto this one, okay, and then out. Now, being Hasegawa by the notion, you never actually get any weapons with them, which has always been my bugbear throughout the entire 90s and 2000s, because it used to drive me wild. Now you can get weapon sets that come with other people's, and you get a ton of it. Obviously Hobby Boss, they always just fill them up and trumpeter, you don't have to worry about it, but it used to make you go out and buy their weapon set to go with it. Anyway, seat going through, so this is the Brazil seat at the end, okay, which we'll look at. So it's a resin seat, and then you've got the photo etch parts which are going to go on it, which will give you a lovely detailed seat. Same with the cockpit areas, a couple of lumps and bumps, things in there you're going to replace and put in. Okay, you do get the boarding ladder, you get that in the kit as standard anyway, and then you get the larger big nav lights on the back there, and away you go. What you do get, as you can see down here, is the Diecast Mask set for it, which is actually this guy. We can look at it here. Okay, so that's great. So that takes the worry out of having to mask it up, and it's nice because it's got the wing masks and the lights and things like that, which is a godsend. Okay, then you've got these great markings. So let's say I won't go through them all, but they're particularly nice because you've got the light gold grey over white, and that is always my favourite scheme. Okay, so you've got the different types down here. So you've got the E, as we were saying, without the electronics hump on the top. This is an E with the electronics hump on the top. Now myself, I've built one or two of these. I've built about 30 of them in the past for commission, so I do know this kit. I am a particular fan of it. I know it's full, but you know where it falls short, and I know its strong points. Its strong points are it's actually fantastically detailed, especially for the prices it was back then. Shortcomings, the intakes can be a bit of a handle to get on there. Okay, there we go, massive decal sheet, as you can see it right the way through. I'm not going to get it out. We know they're going to be very nice. Okay, we know they're done by Cartograph. Cartograph do amazing decals. We've used them recently and we know how good they actually are. Okay, so down here, as we can see on the old close-up, we've got the instrument panels fully printed. This isn't a glued one, I don't think. No, so you don't know, you can glue it down yourself, which is better than the pre-done ones. Two different types of instrument panels down there, so just be careful which one you're doing, all right, and just make sure you get the right parts. But we got the chaff and flare bucket down there as well. They're quite nicely done. The heads-up display, pull handles, harnesses, things like that, very nicely done. Okay, the actual seat itself. So if we just get this guy open. Okay, as you can see, the browsing stuff is beautifully done, and it is what this kit needs, because to be honest, it does fall short on its seat. And when I used to do all these commissions, if I am honest, we used to replace the seat. Okay, so that's what we did with all of those, and it wasn't these. I'm just trying to think who it was now, but another manufacturer, we had the seats. So as you can see, we have one big bag done like this, which is pretty much the standard for Hasegawa. Now the thing is, here it is, lost my knife. So unfortunately, it does mean you get a little bit of sprue rub in that. We'll look at the clear parts afterwards. But straight off the bat, as you can see down here, we have the detail, you can see popping out, beautifully done. Bearing in mind, this kit is, I know it's got a date on this kit, this kit's been around a long time, but it is absolutely beautiful. The detailing, the recessed panel lining, the riveting is absolutely flawless on this. It is a beautiful kit. Goes together very, very well, apart from the intakes. As I say, they can be a little bit of a handful, but generally, as you can see, some very nice details down in there. Hopefully you can catch them in the light as you sort of roll through. Sometimes you get little bits of flash in that, but they tend to be out of the way on these kits. The sprue gates are always very small. I've never seen a Hasegawa kit with particularly any mismolds, things like that, so usually pretty high quality. All right, but as you can see, looking very, very nice. A little bit of detail on the inside. You can see down here we've got some of this fabric soundproofing for the cockpit walls. You can see we've got some nice detail down here in the actual speed brake doors. What you will find is you might get the odd ejector pin in a nasty place that takes some work, but their plastic is very sharp, crisp plastic, and works really, really well. Now this will be a separate part because it obviously has the lumps and bumps for specific aircraft. So you've got two types of nozzles down here. The lumps and bumps go together and it fits onto the top, as I say, can be a bit tricky as well. The intakes and this lump on the top for the electronics bay can be a bit of a fiddle to get on there. Sometimes you get a little seam down the bottom. Dry fitting and some care and attention will save you so much work. Okay, so just make sure you get it lined up and it's fitting properly before you come in with the glue. And as I say, a little bit of sanding work goes a long, long way on this. So we've got it with closed and with the guns. Obviously we'd have it with the guns. Some of the smaller parts on here, very clean, very crisply molded in there. Very nice intake. As you can see, one piece intake like that, painted up. And then down in here, you can see beautiful detail in the wheel wells. And there is a little bit of photo etch on with that one as well. If we do the wing section. So this is what we're saying about this kit. It's very old, but it's brilliantly detailed. You can see all this detail, lovely detail around this popping out. But look at these wheel wells. It doesn't really need any aftermarket in there. There is aftermarket available, but quite frankly, as you can see in those, they are very nicely done. You're not going to have to run around and get those. These are your doors, which are obviously going to go down here for your gear, and then these are your leading edge. Got the little vortex generators on there as well. As I say, you get a couple of ejector pin marks in here, but they don't really show, okay, because they are hidden by the bars, which we'll see in a minute, which comes down, so you won't have to worry about those. Okay, and then speaking of which, here they are. These are these bars that come down and we'll hide those actual marks. So you can see here we've got actually part of the underside for the flap system as it comes through, so don't panic too much about it. Although this guy, and this is a real first for me, you can see it's clear. There's a gap here. It's got a slight mismold here because it should be, and I'll just finish it off with them like that. Okay, So that's actually fine, no problem at all. All the ejector pins are recessed and nicely out of the way, so you don't have to worry about that. You have got a couple of ejector pins down on here. This is before we sort of really learned to move them out of the way. This is the main gear doors. This is again beautifully detailed. Nose door, and these are obviously for the actual flap being in the deployed position, okay? But as you can see, very nicely done. And then on the top, you can see the detail, which absolutely pops with a wash. This aircraft loves a wash and makes all that lovely detail pop out, as you can see on it just there. So down in here we've got a lot of the parts. So you've actually got a one-piece wheel, okay, just down here, and then you've got types of different hubs, obviously for the versions. You've got some of the things down here, the actual catapult gear, things like that. Pylons, again, very nicely done. The fuel tank, which is the only type of ordnance you're going to get on this, if you can call it ordnance anyway, and the tails, things like that. The tube, which is obviously for the exhaust, for the nozzle itself, is very nice, seamless, sorry, not seamless, but ejector pinless down in there. And as you can see, some of these parts down here, you've got the sway braces, things like that for the actual undercarriage and for the pylons. All very nice, no problem with any of those. This is just a mirror part, so you won't have to worry about that. And then your last sprue up in here for the smaller ones is these intakes. Now, different intakes for different models on this one, so you can just take your time, dry fitting, and again, you will save a lot of hassle, okay? Otherwise, what will happen is you put them in and there's a gap, and then because it's very noticeable down here on this particular model, because it's right in your face, okay? You do get, if I remember rightly, a couple of ejector pins just down in here, but you know, a little bit of filler or some time with a sanding stick will take care of those and you have no problem with that at all. Okay, last main sprue up, you've got some of the stuff down here. So we've got the gear. This was always the bugbear of me, one piece wheel, literally, as you see, right the way through. A little bit of bearing to take care of on that and you'll be absolutely fine. The seat you're obviously not going to use, but actually it's not too bad, all right, but you can get away with it. The main gear is beautifully detailed, as you can see down here, no problem with that at all. The refueling probe, you get different types of refueling probe and lumps, bumps, and you can imagine all over this particular kit as it makes its way through, okay? And this is your boarding ladder, which goes in, and there's a little hole on the side, and then this slots into it and gives you a nice boarding ladder as well. So as you can see, you can probably tell I'm quite a fan of this kit, and as I say, I built a few of them and I got to going with the actual intakes, because they are the headache with this kit. The rest of it goes together an absolute gem. So clear parts, they've come off the sprue, as you can see, which never used to surprise me, but they are beautifully clear, no problem with any of these parts whatsoever. These are those wingtip areas, but you have got the masks for them, which you use, put them in and then mask them, then paint them afterwards, okay? Heads up display, some lights, things like that on this one, but you can see it is a bit dinky. You're thinking, looks a bit 1/72nd. No, this is 1/48th, it is tiny. Okay, and that is that all important front glass. Again, it always used to be the headache with masking it, but this comes with the masking set, so no problem there. So there we go. So as you can see, I am quite a fan of this kit. As I say, I built a load of them. They go together really, really nicely. The other enjoyable thing about this particular build is it goes together really quick, okay? So if you're a bit like me and you prefer the painting and weathering stage, these are great aircraft to do because they go together so well. They're pretty much flawless. Different versions have different noses and things like that. They go on fantastic. So any really of the Hasegawa Skyhawk family, they're a dream to go together. But personally, this is my kit. I wanted this particular one, saw it come out. It's got all the upgrades I'd ever want for this. As I say, colour photo etched cockpit and the seat, that's the only two upgrades this needs it. If you've seen the wheel wells, they're beautifully detailed. You won't have to worry about that at all. So well done, Eduard, that one is a must.